Hello, everybody, and welcome or welcome back to the second shelf and to the regular Wednesday video, this time dedicated to women in translation. As you all know, August is Women in Translation Month, and I try to read women in translation not only in August, but also other months. But I want to put some special attention to women in translation in August. And I have, I don't know. Something in my eye. Anyway, August is also, if you follow my channel, you know that, my 30 in 30 challenge, reading 30 books in 30 days. So I have on my schedule to read about 7 translated works, and they will be shorter works, but that's just introduction. And the first one is very short. My rule, by the way, for the 30 in 30 is that it counts as a book if it's published separately. So I don't have a certain minimum page count, like this is only a short story, so I can't count it. No, if it's published separately, then I can count it. The first one is one of these because it's only under 50 pages, and that is Clarice Lispector, Daydream and Drunkenness of a Young Lady, translated from the Portuguese by Katrina Dotson with a D, Dotson. This edition is, these penguin moderns. That's a whole series. And I think this one has been published in 2018, yes. And it contains 3 short stories, and they all have been published originally in Portuguese in 1960. The first is the Daydream and Drunkenness of a Young Lady, and then you have Love and Family Ties, and they all are about the female experience and family. I loved other books by Clarice Lispector, but those short stories, they were okay, but I didn't think they were her most brilliant work. But still, I'm happy that I read it. You will also know, if you follow my channel, that I don't that often read short stories, so I'm happy that I at least included 3 of Lispector's short stories in my reading and as a translated work. But it's not, I don't think they are her strongest. I don't know why they picked these 3 in particular, because I think she wrote better stuff than these 3. But there you go. My next book in translation is from the Ukraine, and that was Ukraine was one of the countries, I'm still having itchy, was one of the countries for the Invisible Cities project, I think back in June. If you want to know more about the Invisible Cities project, I leave links to Natalie's channel and Stephanie's channel down below. You can check it out. Basically, they just pick 2 countries each month, and then you read books from this country. So for the Ukraine, I picked Fieldwork in Ukrainian Sex by Oksana Zabutsko, translated from the Ukrainian by Halina Harin. I buddy read this with Heidi from My Reading Life, and I think she posted already a review. But anyway, the original was published in 1996, and this one, the English translation, in 2018, and it is an Amazon Crossing book. Just not, my thing, the font and how they, but I mean, I was happy to have this book. Oksana Zabutsko was born in 1960, and she is one of the most prominent contemporary Ukrainian authors. So I absolutely wanted to include a book by her, also in the 1001 Books by Women I Have to Read Before I Die list. This is about a young woman in her 30s from the Ukraine, a poet who is currently in the US for a writers program, conference, stuff like that. And she reflects on her relationship with another artist, a painter that she had just ended. And it is stream of consciousness style, which I struggle with also. Yeah, if I can say that physically, if you have these pages and pages of text without any break, I don't know. It's just my eyes just glaze over. Because I look at a double page and I always want to have a reference point of a sort of a break, a blank line. So but that's me. That's not anything to do with the book. But I also didn't find the story that successful, to be honest. I mean, she talks about this abusive relationship, and I recognize a lot of patterns that I know from my own work as a lawyer, but also from books I've read about abusive relationships and how you are stuck, even if you have the possibility to leave. I mean, a lot of women don't have the possibility for various reasons, but even if you have, you are stuck and you try to, but he loves me and it's not abuse. So that, I recognize that, but for some reason, I felt there was not enough self-reflection, and she had left him, and she is an intellectual woman, so I missed that. I did like the parts that she is sort of making a connection between what happened to her in this abusive relationship and Ukrainian history, and how Ukraine is also a quote-unquote abused country, and can't really get free from this history. So that part I thought was interesting, but the way she told the story and the way she talked about these issues and meandered around, it just didn't work really well for me. So even though it's like with the previous book, I'm happy that I read it. And I will certainly read another book by this author. And I think it's another itch. It's just traveling around my face, this itch. Something with the museum. The Secrets. Well, which book. I will leave it in the show notes, the title of the book. So I will certainly read another book by her. But this was just not really that much of a success, unfortunately. And then I have another buddy read with Heidi. And when this video is going up, we will have finished it, but I will treat it for this video as a book that I'm still reading, and that's translated nonfiction. That's also something, by the way, that I really try to include, to find books, nonfiction books by women that have been translated into English. Not that easy. By the way. But anyway, we found this one, Luisa Capetillo, A Nation of Women, translated from the Spanish by Alan West Duran. And it was published in 2021, and the original essays have been published in 1911. Now, I had never heard of this author, Luisa Capetillo. She is a Puerto Rican activist, especially for workers' rights, female workers' rights, end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century. And she wrote pamphlets and pieces in newspapers. But as the introduction tells me, very little of her work had been recognized later on after she died, or had been translated. So if I understand it correctly, this is the first English translation of her work. And it consists of essays in various lengths where she talks about free love, about the rights of workers, the rights to divorce for women, the rights to work for women, but also after marriage. And she's against marriage. She wants to have free love. She thinks marriage is not a good institution. So in some ways, this is a very revolutionary book, but in other ways she is very traditional. The main role that she sees for women, I mean, they should work and they should be able to choose their man and have free love, and if they don't love them anymore, they should be able to divorce. But still, the main focus, the main role for women that she sees is motherhood. So yeah, I will see when I'm finished what I think about it. But I have mixed feelings. But again, I'm really happy that I discovered this, for me, completely new author and nonfiction in translation. It's always a delight. And the last book is the book that I just started, and that was, I talked about it when I hauled the book. Stephanie from Time to Read raved about this book. She really liked it, and it is translated work, a Mexican author, Carmen Bulosa, the book of Anna, translated from the Spanish, the Mexican Spanish, by Samantha Schnee. And this book, the English, has been published in 2020, and the original in 2016. And it is about the novel that Anna Karenina wrote. I mean, she is a fictional character, obviously. But in the book, Anna Karenina by Tolstoy, it is mentioned that she is writing a book. It's mentioned once, if I understand it correctly. I read Anna Karenina maybe 20 years ago, so I have no recollection that a book was mentioned, that she was writing a book or that she was working on a book. But obviously she did. And from that, this author takes this idea and explores further the book that Anna has written, also talks about Anna Karenina's children. So it's this mix of a fictional character in a book, but as I understood it, it's also about revolution. And I mean, Salman Rushdie endorsed it. He wrote a blurb for this book. And if you have seen my video on Sunday, this is also something that at the moment carries a special weight for me. But anyway, I bought this book already, and I would have read it because Stephanie liked it. But when I saw the blurb, I thought, good pick. I sort of clapped myself on the shoulder for no reason. So I started it. I read the first 5 pages or something, and those were really, I enjoyed those. But this is the book that I will probably read I don't think this is a book that I will be able to finish in a day. I have other books, very short books, that I have scheduled, to finish in a day. So this will probably take me a little bit longer. And then I have, I think, 2 or 3 more translated works to read for the 30 in 30 challenge. One of them I also hauled in my birthday book haul, the poems by Sappho. That's certainly something I want to get to, and then I will have read 5 if I get to the Sappho, and then maybe 1 more. I would love to read 7 because 7 is my favorite number, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, so far I have 4 books to show you for women in translation and my 30 in 30 challenge. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know whether you have books that you read, women in translation books that you read this month or that you recommend. I'm always interested in recommendations. It has to be translated into English, preferably. I also sometimes read books translated only into German, but it's difficult to talk to you about them if you can't read them, and not a lot of my viewers read German. So preferably, if you have suggestions or recommendations, I would like a book that has been translated into English. And now I will just stop babbling. Looking forward to your comments as always, and I'll see you all soon in the next one.